Welcome into another episode of the Turn Golf Podcast. I'm Andrew Putters, Joe Nicely here, rotoballer.com, lead editor, sports editor there. Here he is, my man Joe. We are officially like 1 mile as the crow flies, or half a mile as the crow flies away from each other. I am live from 6800 Beaverbrook Road or Drive, whatever the actual address is here. I'm on my parents' back patio. Might have a little ruckus up here at the cart shed behind me, celebrating our boy Ryan Hall Monday qualifying in to the Corn Ferry this week. That could happen, so we better get off here fast for the shots start flying, Joe. But Monday night, we got a lot going on. We've got in the world of worlds where Jay Monahan takes a leave of absence for who knows what. 5 billionaires die on a riveted closed tube, 12,500 feet below the ocean or the sea level. Hunter Biden gets a felony gun charge, gets probation for a felony gun charge. About 45 minutes ago, a board member of J.P. Morgan dies in a car accident, Joe. Car accident. And Keegan Bradley held off a 6-shot lead barely on the back nine in the Northeast. Nearly coast to coast for this tournament. No, all kidding aside, we're here to talk about golf. Just a fun way to get into this episode. Joe Nicely, rotoballer.com. Your boy Keegs. We were high on Keegs last week. Yeah. Did not take advantage of the situation, but let's talk rotoballer.com. We'll get into last week and then get into this week's slate.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Nice to be with you. Good to see you again, and happy to have everybody join the show to talk a little bit about the Rocket Mortgage. Before we dive in, I want to encourage everyone to go over to rotoballer.com, check out our amazing PGA content over there. An amazing team we're adding to constantly. That we continue to improve as the year rolls along. We'll take you all the way through the Tour Championship. My man Spencer Aguiar, Byron Lindecue, Ian McNeil, Josh Bennett, and others contributing. We hope you'll go over and check it out. We got 3 tiers of PGA premium offerings. We got a lot of free stuff that you're welcome to read. It won't cost you a dime. We think it's good enough that you'll want to sign up for our premium. So go over and check out rotoballer.com. Use our promo code TURN when you sign up, and that'll save you 10%. And we appreciate you checking it out.
Yes, rotoballer.com, best place in the world for your daily fantasy needs. Not just golf, by the way, not just golf, but that's what we specialize in here at the Turn. So last week, Joe, what do you think? Did the Travelers deliver, or was it a little bit it's exciting that Keegan won, being from the Northeast, I think, for the tournament and for the fan base up there. However, kind of lackluster, right? Because he dominated. I mean, 8 under, 6 under, 8 under, 7 under, 6 under first 3 rounds. And then ended up shooting a couple 3 under there on Sunday. And with a huge lead that what was the guy on Top Gun that lost his wings there so that Maverick could get into the flight school? That's what it looked like, him coming in there.
Yeah, he looked like Cougar trying to steer it in, land that thing. He tried to make it a little interesting for us, but he was, as you said, AP, he was up by so much that kind of a snoozer. Coming down off the U.S. Open high. We always love the Travelers. It's a great event, and just not every tournament's going to be a home run. I mean, right, man, it's one of those things where we've had a tremendous year, but you can't script these things, and sometimes a guy just gets hot. We've seen Keegan play really well, and when he starts making putts, we know what he's capable of. He won back in October at the Zozo, so 2 wins in less than a year for Keegan. So the aim point's working for him. We're not going to see the pace of play speed up anytime soon as long as these boys are winning with the aim point. And it certainly worked wonders for Keegan, who struggled putting for so long. And now all of a sudden he's looking better on the greens and getting wins. So A little bit underwhelming for the Travelers, but as I said, they can't all be home runs. But it's a fun event, and looking forward to diving into the Rocket Mortgage up in Detroit with you, the home of your Detroit Lions, AP. So tell me a little bit about Motown. You're welcome to throw in some Detroit Lions prognostications tonight. But before we dive into the DraftKings slate.
So first of all, let's just go ahead and say it's you meant to say home of the 2024 Super Bowl champion Detroit Lions, possibly. No,
our Lions, our Lions.
Yeah, Detroit Golf Club, Detroit, Michigan. Now this event's not very old, however, and the scores are going to be super low. But there's not really anybody teeing it up this week that's ever going to say anything bad, mainly because it's by one of our, probably the greatest designer in American history. Donald Ross designed this golf course in 1916, renovated by Robert Trent Jones, Arthur Hills, and Bruce Hepner. But it's a classic Donald Ross design. Somewhere around 7,000 yards. 72. So 73-70, this one is par 72. Since it's up in the north, you're going to have a lot of bent grass with Poena creeping in. They did reroute some holes to make this more of like a tournament vibe. But this place, this is average fairway length, 30 yards. We're looking 20 to 25 under is going to win this thing, Joe. But there's, like I said before, not one person teeing up is going to complain about this golf course. It is it's loved by every player that plays, and it's because it's a classic Donald Ross design. Let's be honest, Joe. It is just like here in town, just like we saw in the major championship just a few weeks ago. Very similar designs. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that the Detroit Golf Club and where they play the PGA is similar in the spect of it's going to be that difficult. I'm just saying you're going to see similarities in the course. Like I said, this event is not very old. Started in 2019. Past winners are Nate Lashley, Bryson DeChambeau, Cam Davis, Tony Finau. Memory serves me correct. We got good vibes coming from the Joe Nicely memory bank on this. Is that correct, Joe? Didn't we throw down a little thunder on this thing back when Bryson won in 2020?
Yeah, I think so. I think we had a lot of Bryson, Matt Wolf combo there. It seems like it's a little shootout on Sunday, if I remember correctly. But had some good vibes from the Rocket Mortgage. Not the most star-studded event, as you mentioned. Not the toughest golf course, AP. But hey, man, there's a DFS slate. There's a PGA Tour golf tournament. So we're going to dive in. We're going to do the best we can. We're going to have some fun this week. Pretty decent field. 10, 12 guys up at the top, stronger than we've seen in the past. And then we got the mules as well, who are in play this week. As you mentioned, Nate Lashley, a winner here. This is another one of those courses, kind of like Travelers last week, where it's tough to really count anybody in the field out. Honestly, 7,300 yards, but going to play nowhere near that length. There's a 600 plus yard par 5 that kind of makes it a little bit deceiving. So these guys can handle this track. Scores are going to be really low, as you mentioned, over the 4 editions of this event. 2,300 par is your average winning score, and I look for it to be even lower than that this week, AP.
That's true. Strongest field we've ever seen in this event, Joe. Memory serves me correct. Mark Herbert faltered down the stretch in 2020, and I think Kisner shoot like 63 on this golf course on Sunday, and it's basically screwed you out. That's my weird memory bank. AP's weird memory that remembers stupid details. So don't worry, Bryson's not playing. Kisner's not playing. I think you're good, Joe.
Matt Wolf not playing, so we're good.
Yeah, Matt Wolf might never play again. But yeah, let's get right in here to the slate, Joe. Right out of the gate, 10K and above, JT, Homa, Fowler, Morikawa, Finau. And Finau's at the top of this price point. And if you went just on recent form, Joe, I can't blame, other than Fowler's lit it up, obviously, last couple of events. JT's playing terrible. Homa's playing terrible. Morikawa, we don't know what we're going to get. Shoots mid 70s on Sunday, on Thursday last week, and then nearly comes back and makes the cut, shooting like 63 on the second day. Fowler shot 60 on Saturday this past week. Been just flying up the world rankings, playing well. But Finau has been your week in, week out standard beast, I guess we can call him. I mean, just a cut making machine. And guess what? He won this event last year. This golf course makes so much sense for him, right, Joe? Long par fours. He can reach every par five no matter how long they are. So Finau makes a lot of sense. But are you touching this 10K and above?
I think I'll go up here, AP. I think you can this week because things get pretty thin as we move down the salary scale. So might shape up to be sort of a stars and scrub week for me. Hadn't got to play around a ton with roster construction yet, but I think there's some things to like about everybody up here. Tony Finau, you mentioned, defending champion, just so consistent. Won this thing last year on that hot stretch, went back to back here in 3M. So there's a lot to like with Tony, just kind of flying under the radar this year. Won in Mexico, but hadn't made a ton of noise other than that. But we know that he can pop up, and these are the type of tournaments he wins, right? The 25 plus under events. He's really made a name for himself over the last year. Colin Morikawa is going to have to make some putts. Birdies are required here. We know how great he hits it. It's continuing to hit it great, even though he missed the cut last week at the Travelers. The irons have been terrific, but just going to have to make some putts. Ricky Fowler has been making putts. We know what he did at the U.S. Open, didn't close it out the way he liked, but bounced back last week. Showed a lot of fight last week, AP. Career low round of 60 in the third round at the Travelers. Bit of a bounce back spot for Max Homa, I feel like. We know the dip he's kind of undergone since we left the West Coast, but he's got back-to-back top 25s in this event. Not playing terrible, just not playing to the level he was earlier in the year. So this is a bounce back spot for Max Homa, in my opinion. And then JT, we saw things start to kind of go right a little bit over the weekend at the Travelers. He woke up. So we know how dangerous he can be when he gets things going. One of, if not the most explosive players in the game. So I'll be mixing and matching these guys up here. Fowler's recent form. He's a Rocket Mortgage guy. He's played this event every year, so he's very familiar with this golf course. Those factors kind of make you want to lean Ricky, but I think the ownership's going to be really high. So I'll probably find a way to get unique up here at the top of the board this week.
Right. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Moving on to 9K range, Joe, Harris English, Keegs, past champion Cam Davis, Sanjay M., Matsuyama, Tom Kim. Tom Kim's really played well these last couple of weeks, played really well last week. Seems like I was looking here at the WD. My memory serves me correctly. This was kind of the start of Matsuyama's little neck issue. And I'm pretty sure he WD'd here in 21 after the lock-in. I think it's one of the 3 times he's done that to us. 9K and above, these guys really are not what we call headliners, but there still is some real playability here. Especially, English has just played really well here as of late. So can we see his ownership spiking a little bit here? 9K range. What do you think, Joe?
I think Harris's ownership is going to be pretty reasonable. I don't see a huge spike, especially not with the players that are up in the upper 9Ks. I think we're going to see ownership kind of gravitate towards there with Tom Kim, Hideki, Sung Jae, some of the guys you mentioned. And those are the guys I like as well. It's tough not to. Tom Kim, the irons are firing again, gained nearly 13 strokes on approach over his last 2 combined starts. Had a T7 here last year. So there's a lot of good vibes, a lot of good mojo, it feels like, headed Tom Kim's way. Hideki's playing amazing, leads this field in strokes gained tee to green over the last 24 rounds. The results don't really bear that out, but the putter's just been bad. So it's kind of a Keegan situation last week. If Hideki, with as well as he's striking it, goes out there and makes some putts, we could see him getting contention in this thing. So And Sung Jae's played well here in the past. Hasn't been in his best form, but we know he can his game can turn on a dime. So nothing original, nothing too out of the box, man. But those are my three favorites. With Tom Kim and Hideki leading the way, I'll consider Sung Jae a little bit depending on the ownership.
Yeah, love Hideki here. Love Hideki here. I mean, he talent wise, we know he's top 10 player in the world probably. So anytime we're going to get him at a discount, which we've gotten him at a discount for the last couple of years, but once he gets this turned around and figured out, I mean, he'll be smashing fields again. 8K range, Joe. Ekarat, Hadwin, Benan, Sepp Straka. We got Hoagie, Chris Kirk, Alex Smalley. What's this? This new cat here, 5 cuts from Sweden, Ludvig Eberg. How you say his last name? Yeah, I saw him play last week actually on the ESPN coverage, ESPN Plus coverage. How do you say it again?
Dude's an absolute stud. I talked to him about him on this show a few weeks ago. Really love his game, man. I think he's going to be an absolute superstar on the PGA Tour. Was just an absolute beast at Texas Tech. Recently turned pro. We're seeing DraftKings be really aggressive with pricing on these young guys. It's not like it used to be, man. When you could grab a Victor Hovland and a Colin Morikawa relatively cheap when they first turned pro. DraftKings has wisened up, and Aberg's price is up there. I think everybody always loves the shiny new toy, so I think you'll see him grab some ownership. He's an explosive player. Austin Eckroat, I think we'll get some serious steam this week, and it's with good reason. I've been on him for about the past month, AP, and he is balling right now. So there's a lot to like with Eckroat. This course fits him well. He can make a ton of birdies. Putting the young guys aside in Aberg and Eckroat, who I like both those guys. Couple of kind of the vets. Chris Kirk, the course history is very, very good here. Has played extremely well in his previous Rocket Mortgage starts. Not that long ago, AP, that Chris Kirk was playing really good golf. This stretch of golf courses hasn't really fit him well. Super long golf courses, so this is more manageable for him. He's a Donald Ross type of guy. I think he's going to go under on this week. So if I'm circling a pivot here in the 8K range between Aberg and Eckroat, I'm circling Chris Kirk, our man.
Yeah, I actually surprisingly not going to be on Chris Kirk this week, just from recent form, Joe. Like you said, though, longer golf courses are his problem. But yeah, the course history here is good. I just like I like Jaeger and Hadwin better. And they're on both sides of the price point. So if I need to go a little up, I'm gonna go with Jaeger. If I'm gonna go a little lower, I'm gonna go with Hadwin. Really like Jaeger this week. Yeah, he played well, I think, here last year. And, like I said, very similar to what we have here in Knoxville at Holston, where she was the runner-up at in the Korn Ferry Tour debut of Holston Hills Country Club. So love Jaeger this week. He's probably going to be my heart, Joe. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going with the heart on Jaeger. I'm throwing that out mid pod right here. Love Hadwin and Jaeger in the 8K range. 7K range, as usual. Too many to mention, except for one. How's Justin Sutt 7,900 in this field? Is his ownership going to be ridiculous? Because if not, I'll be all over that guy. What do you think, Joe?
I think it should be. I don't know if it will be. I think a lot of people are going to gravitate to Eckroat there at 8K, just above Sutt. He's been a little flashier here lately. But there's a lot to like, man. There's you talk about some young talent. That little bucket there with Eckroat, Justin Sutt, Taylor Moore, Davis Riley. What a talented little group right there. You got Hogard down there, not far below. I think Patrick Rogers. I believe I saw something before we started.
AWD.
Yeah. So make sure and get Patrick Rogers out of your player pool. That's a guy that maybe some of us would play this week. But there's some players to lock in the 7K range, AP. You mentioned up at the top, Taylor Moore, Davis Riley, really talented guys that can go out there and make a lot of birdies. speaking of young guys being priced up, Gordon Sargent at 7,500. I was very surprised to see his price tag there. The amateur out of Vandy. We know the kid has got a ton of talent. He's played in the Masters, played in the U.S. Open this year, playing on a sponsor's exemption this week. So surprised to see him at 7,500. I was hoping maybe he would be a neat little dart play, but at that price, I don't know if we can get there, AP. Brandon Wu's played good golf. I did a little course history research for my article over at Rotoballer this week. Came across JJ Spawn. He's a guy I'm circling this week, Andrew. He's played really well at this golf course. The putter's been cold, but he's played this tournament 4 times. He's gained strokes putting all 4 times. So he likes these greens, and the ball striking's been good. I'm circling JJ Spawn as kind of a little pivot play against the grain play this week. And in the mid 7s, he's probably my favorite. I'm going to have a little bit of JJ Spawn this week. So give me your thoughts on him if you have any, Andrew, and anybody you like down below him down to 7K.
I mean, I normally JJ Spawn's a pretty safe bet because he hits his iron so good. But it seems like the finishes just haven't been there for him this year. But he doesn't really do anything flashy, right? So you just gonna go out there and shoot 70, 68, 71. And so, but his ball strike on a Don Ross course, he's gonna make a lot of birdies. So, but in the mid, I'm kind of at a loss there in the 7K range. Like you said, I want the snag up Sargent, but because I think it's the player's course. But he's too expensive. They'd say it, he is. And you can't, all 6 players can't be kind of a roll the dice kind of guy, right? We can't be throwing Matsuyama and who else kind of gamble. So we can't be throwing like a Ricky Fowler or Matsuyama and we're going to roll him up with a, Gordon Sargent and, somebody else down here in the 6Ks that we kind of like, oh yeah, he's going to be a stud too. We can't really do that. This, you gotta find your kind of horses, like you ride on your horse for the course or your core 4 there and play off that. So it's going to be hard for me to sneak Sargent into any lineup, to be honest with you, Joe, GPP or cash game. So 7K ranges, I'm going to do a lot of studying. I know Lashley's former winner here, right? And is the other former winner in here too? Bramlett, didn't he win this thing like the first year they had it, maybe, or second year?
I think Lashley won the first one.
Lashley won the first one. Bramlett won the second one, maybe. Or Bramlett might have won at Minnesota. Anyway, Bramlett makes birdies too, kind of like that guy. Probably has nearly 0 ownership. Hostler might have near 0 ownership. So I might be sticking in the ownership game here in the 7K range. That's the only kind of thing I can build on, other than Justin Suh in the 7K range at all, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a good point, Andrew. The guys up at the top are going to be so popular this week because this is a weaker field than we've seen, over the past month or so. Guys are going to gravitate, towards these players up at the top. So I think we're going to see ownership kind of falling pretty clearly along some lines based on price. So it's a great thought to get different down here in the 7K range. And there's a lot of guys you can pivot to. I mentioned JJ Spawn, who I like. Sam Stevens, I think, is a talented player. I know a lot of people over at Rotoballer are really big on Kevin Yu at 7K. A lot of people like his prospects over there. Byron especially is a big fan of Kevin Yu. And the Woo boys, Brandon and Dylan. Brandon, you've got in the mid 7Ks. Dylan, you've got right down at around the 7K mark. 2 talented guys. So I think, their options. Carson Young, well, it's probably going to get a little bit more ownership than I'd like to see, honestly, but he's playing really good golf. And he's kind of become a popular DFS play over the past 6 to 8 weeks. So I like Carson Young, but I'll have to keep an eye on his ownership. When you get down in the 6Ks, man, you can kind of tell that this is a Rocket Mortgage Classic and not the U.S. Open or not a designated event. So you got any thoughts below 7K as we get down here kind of into the twilight zone this week, Andrew?
No, and actually this week I'm gonna probably build me a model here tomorrow, and I'm gonna be concentrating on trying to find some 6K guys like that have, you know, last 12 to 24 rounds really hit it well, just haven't really got the results. And I'm gonna try to find some of those guys down the 6K range that we can peak on. I will say this, and there is a lot of names that we know in this 6K range, right, Joe? I mean, a lot of names. We know we've seen these names a long time now. Yeah, I know they're going to have some new faces, but we can look on course history. We can see some things pop out, whether it be 6,500, who was it there? That was, had some good finishes. Troy Merritt, his game is he hits the driver very long, pretty crooked, and puts it well, right? So if he gets getting that driver going pretty good, he can go low. He's got 3 straight top 15s. But I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there right now. Dart play of the week. The healthy Brant Snedeker for a top 40. A healthy Brant Snedeker for a top 40, Joe. Probably get some good numbers on that. He's healthy. He's put some decent rounds together. Not put 4 days together. Put some decent rounds together. Don't remember exactly where a couple weeks ago it was, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he does here. And let's see, where was it at? Yeah. I guess it was at the Memorial, wasn't it? Because he was 1 over, it looks like. Yeah, 1 over the first day, and they were talking about it because they showed a lot. They showed him on TV a lot. I know that at the Memorial. So healthy Brant Snedeker. That's what I'm top 40 bet. Lock it down. I got nothing other than he's healthy. There's no statistical thing to back it up. He's healthy though. And
he plays Donald Ross golf courses really well. I mean, there's maybe some crossover here with Sedgefield, and I think when this tournament first started, Sned's played pretty well here. So I like kind of where your head is, AP. I think you can definitely take some chances this week. We talked about this golf course kind of bringing the entire field into play. It's going to be a birdie fest and in a sense a putting contest. It seems like these tournaments always kind of devolve into putting contest. I think you mentioned at the top of the show, man. You gotta take advantage of the par fives, and you got to make a lot of putts this week. Hit your irons good and make some putts. So. I like it. I think all options are on the table this week for sure.
Well, I've already thrown out both of mine. Jaeger and Snedeker, probably a little bit of a Tennessee homer card. Joe, help us and help our viewers actually finish profitable this week. What's your heart and dart this week?
I think there are a lot of interesting plays out there this week. I think you can get different. And make some kind of cool pivots. I touched on him already. My dart this week is JJ Spawn at 7,500. I love how he hits his irons. I love how he's putted at this golf course in his previous trips. A lot of good mojo. I think it's one of those things, man, where if a guy like JJ Spawn goes out there on Thursday or Friday, starts seeing some putts go in, can build on that momentum and really go low. So. Throwing my dart with JJ Spawn. My heart this week, similar thing, man. The guy's just got to see some putts drop. That's a decky. I'm taking a decky up top. He's hitting it so great that he's just got to see some balls go in for him, and I think he could really take off. It feels like an explosion's coming at some point. So I'm taking a decky as my heart play of the week.
I like it. I like Hideki. I like Jaeger. Actually, that's my 2 favorite players this week, Joe. Might be sprinkling something in on this. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this tournament. I like this tournament. I like any Donald Ross that's on TV. Let's just be honest. I'm a big Donald Ross fan. I'll talk about it all the time on this podcast. because his designs are so unique, and we, the raised greens and the long link style par fours, and I just love his eye for design. Maybe it's because of
let's
what I grew up on.
let's
What?
get a little red marker out, AP, and let's make a little circle this week on we're talking about Donald Ross, a guy that we know plays Donald Ross golf courses really well, guy that loves Holston Hills here in Knoxville, guy that's got great course history here. Our boy Scott Stallings. Let's circle him this week, just in case. Maybe we can break out of this ice cold streak we're in right now. But
Definitely in a
this is the spot right here.
definitely in a cold streak. We want to see him turn it around. Just hasn't played the scoring holes well. Played the difficult holes very well, super well actually. Which makes me be like, hey, just hit 4 iron into evergreen. But play the difficult holes very well. Still pretty high up there. We're talking 175 and above on strokes gain on approach. The scoring holes have really been his Achilles heel this year, and consistency driving the ball and putting, which we're Monday morning quarterback from the couch while he's playing golf, but that's just what we see. But yeah, I hope we can break out of this streak definitely this week. I would love to see it. I think he finished like top, get a couple of top 15s. I know he finished 12th last year, 10th, wasn't it? So can't hear you.
Got really solid course history here. Had a T10 last year, AP, and a T25 in 2021. So we know that he's capable of these random top tens. I hate to use the word random, but hey, this kind of sums it up when you're talking about Stallings and when you're talking about some other players on the PGA Tour. These guys can run really hot and cold, and we've seen him spike. Usually when he plays good golf, there's upside there. So something that can be said, for several guys this week on this type of a birdie fest type of event.
Absolutely. Joe, that's all I got, man. I'm hearing rumbles in the woods, so I'm gonna get off here and go to bed. Joe Nicely, I'm Andrew Poor, coming from the Brook in Knoxville, Tennessee. Rocket Mortgage Classic. You need some PGA premium stuff, go on to rotoballer.com, use the promo code TURN, save you a little money. Thanks for listening. Once again, I'm Andrew Poor. That's Joe Nicely. You've listened to the Turn Golf Podcast.